Good evening, everyone. My message to parents on the eve of potential job action is that our government has remained reasonable at the negotiating table with the objective of keeping students in class. I'm calling on OSSTF this evening to cancel strike action tomorrow, to continue bargaining and to reach a deal that keeps kids in class. Notre gouvernement est résolu à ce que les enfants puissent continuer à aller en classe. It is irresponsible and it is unfair to keep parents and students in the dark about knowing if school will be open tomorrow or not. I want OSSTF to commit to exploring all options available, including independent third-party mediation, so that we can resolve this situation, so that we can ensure kids remain in class in this province. I'm affirming my commitment to examining innovative solutions to avoid a strike, and I'm open to a framework that achieves our goal of reaching a deal that keeps students in the classroom of this province. It has been over 200 days since we first started bargaining with OSSTF, and in that time, they have not made any substantive moves since their first proposal was tabled. Not one move since that proposal was tabled. Now, even while the government has made enhanced efforts, there is no indication that OSSTF intends to make any moves, except to reaffirm their insistence on a $1.5 billion increase in pay and benefits. Now, the onus is on OSSTF to be reasonable, to stay at the table, and to cancel this needless escalation that is hurting children, parents, and families in this province. I'll take a few questions.
Are we talking about talks having broken off? Can you be more clear here, or are you walking away from this now?
We remain at the table. Our negotiators are working through the mediator. As you know, I've called tonight on the OSSTF to invoke and to support a third-party mediator, the same type of mediator we use with the CUPE deal. In that deal, we used a third-party option, the talents of a third-party mediator that helped bring all the parties together, and we sought and we got a voluntary agreement that was good for parents that ultimately kept their kids in class. That's what I'm asking them to do. Two things. In good faith, how is it possible? How is it possible for parents watching today that their children may be out of class tomorrow when you know and we know that there's a viable pathway to get a deal through an independent mediator, that at least they could help bridge the gap? And we use this precise mediator, or the independent mediation with CUPE, and we got a deal. And the fact is, tomorrow, they have said that they plan to strike, a strike they have decided on their volition, on their terms, escalating at their will, even though we all know that there is a medium, a mechanism that could actually help bridge the gap of the legitimate differences that may exist at the table. That is irresponsible. And I think parents in this province deserve to know the facts related that they have an option. And I'm hoping in the coming hours that they will in good faith consider that option and cancel this needless strike.
You keep saying that they are just focusing on the money. And yes, you are wide apart, $750 million apart, in fact. But they are saying they're also fighting to preserve class sizes, which they say you're trying to balloon to 25. They also say that you are trying to force children to do e-learning, and they say you have never done any studies on this, that you're using our kids as guinea pigs, because not all children will necessarily do well in an online learning scenario. Yeah, so you keep focusing on the money. They say they're focusing on the kids in the classroom. So can you tell us, you obviously appear very, very wide apart here.
Yeah, look, I think what it demonstrates is that we've made significant moves. I made an announcement, for example, last week or about a week and a half ago on online learning. That was dismissed from 4 to 2. When we made an announcement with respect to classroom size to go from 20 to 25, that was dismissed. And we have seen the continuity here, the consistency, to be quite frank, is that we've made some pretty serious moves. We're also maintaining the lowest classroom sizes in the nation for the earliest years of learning, where there's evidence that underpins the importance of that. And so with respect, the government has consistently and systematically been reasonable. Our posture is focused on our kids. And with respect, framing that question to suggest that our focus is on numbers.
You've been talking about money. That's all you ever talk about. In every interview I've heard, you talk about this $1.5 billion. You do not mention that they talk about the classroom sizes. You do not mention the e-learning.
Yes, the rationale for me talking about that $1.5 billion request or insistence by the union is because, in my estimation, that is the fundamental wedge at the table. And
That is not the only wedge at the table, that they're
Well,
concerned about the kids.
yes, and my point, in short, is that when we've made significant moves on classroom sizes, on online learning, and a variety of other announcements we've made to date, they have rejected them. And more importantly, when they've had that we've started this process of sorry, I just want to finish the thought, if I may. For over 200 days, we have been negotiating. Since the first day they tabled their proposal, they have not changed their proposal at all. How is it reasonable that for this entire process, for the entire process of negotiating, folks, they have not made a single substantive change in their position? And when we look at it, allow me to use a proof point of how it is so much about compensation for OSSTF. A month ago, as you will know, in this hotel, we got I think, important voluntary agreement for CUPE. These are education workers, folks who, custodial staff and EAs for kids with exceptionality. They work hard. We got a deal with them. This government got a good deal with labor, at 1%, by the way, which is the objective we seek. When we proposed and literally tabled last week an enhanced offer, or rather tabled an offer to OSSTF to their education workers, the exact same workers with the exact same job description in virtually the exact same schools and sometimes the same municipalities, they swiftly rejected it. To assert it isn't about compensation is preposterous. It often is when the context of these discussions. And the one commonality that I think is an experience that all political parties, New Democrat, Liberals, and Conservatives will face through this process is the omnipresent reality of escalation by unions. We had Premier Ray in the gallery yesterday, in the legislature. Premier Ford, Premier Wynne, Kathleen Wynne, the member, still sits in the legislature. 3 premiers in one chamber. What unites them? Not party, not values, not alignment on the issues of the day, but the fact that unions escalate irrespective of the government. And parents know this to be true. Just take a few more questions.
So I would like some clarification actually on the negotiation factor, because you're saying that you're asking the union right now to sit down and negotiate with you. I'm being told that there were no negotiations that happened today, and that in fact they did not receive that proposal that you said was sent to them. I'm being told that the mediator in fact told them that no proposal was sent.
Yeah, what we've asked them today through the mediator, what we've encouraged to be, I think, more accurate in the verbiage, is we've encouraged them to come forth with an innovative idea, something I've asked for months and I've called for since August when I made a previous announcement on this issue. I've asked the parties to bring forth any innovative option they may have.
By parties, you mean the union an innovative option? So in fact, you didn't present them a deal.
We offered them an opportunity, again, in the final hours of this discussion. I asked them through our mediator, in good faith, if you don't like the option we have proposed, now keep in mind, we have made various amendments to our plan, we have expanded our plan, we've improved our plan over several months. Those have been declined swiftly. So in the absence of accepting our options, I said today, through the mediator, we're encouraging that party, the union, OSSTF, to bring forth an option to the government. This is what is true in both scenarios. So first, they reject the expanded options of the government consistently through this process. No to each and every one of our major moves, from online moving to the announcement on online learning to classroom sizes. Then we say, okay, if you don't like the options the government has made, please bring forth an innovative option.
Okay,
and they
have it was a proposal, so that sounds a little bit different than just tell me what you want, right? Because that's just
within the frame.
It made it sound like it was a proposal, like you made some sort of amendments to something that was done a few weeks ago, but that wasn't the case.
Well, last week we did actually make a proposal at the table. We did table an offer with respect to the education workers, to be fair, and it was rejected. We also announced a week and a half ago online learning changes, and that was dismissed. So the fact is, what I've called on them for months, and I've reaffirmed it so clearly today publicly and at the table through the mediator, to be fair, is for them to, within the frame, within the sort of knowing the priorities of all the parties, that if you don't like our option, bring forth your own. But both can't be true. How is it that now, hours before a potential strike, a strike cause in large part because they have chosen to escalate irrespective of the government, how is it that fair that they reject our options but present none of their options? The only option they've presented is the first option they tabled, where they've seen no substantive move since this process began. And I think that is unfair. And I think if you're going to escalate tomorrow to a one-day strike, my message to the union in good faith is to seriously consider independent mediation, which has worked for the government and worked for our kids. And I'm hoping that they will do so, that they will say, upon sober reflection in the coming hours, that they should be looking at every option available and they will cancel the strike. We should not be in this position. You know, we may disagree in good faith, and it's very possible that the parties will viciously disagree on the issues. And that's the nature of negotiations, of pressurized environments. It's the nature of our democracy.
Why
But
are you
folks,
pushing
but
forward this agenda of e-learning, though, and
but-
online
but I
courses
just-
when
if I could finish
you've
the
never
thought.
even tested it?
But the point is, how is it fair that under both scenarios can be true for the union? They don't like the proposals we have offered, but concurrently they have not brought forth an option when we have strongly recommended them to do so or encouraged them to do so. So I think it is frustrating, and I'm asking them.
That they put forward before, what they're saying that they want, isn't that their option that they're bringing forward?
They have tabled, when at the beginning of this process, we started negotiating. They have tabled some months ago a proposal which has not moved at all. And I think if you're an observer, if you're a parent, you're saying, look, I think all the parties have to be a bit reasonable here to get a deal. I think
You have been telling us they're very concerned about education, and they're concerned about e-learning, and they're concerned about growing classroom sizes. So a lot of the parents that we've spoken to side very strongly with the teachers. What do you say in response to those parents?
Well, it is this government that is investing more in public education than any government in the history of Ontario. We are on track to spend $1.2 billion more this year than we did last year, more money in public education than any premier in the history of this province. We've increased mental health funding to the highest levels, more than doubled it for our most vulnerable children in class. You know, we've produced a $200 million four-year math strategy to increase math scores after they plummeted, respectfully, after the former Liberal government, if I could just finish the thought. We've increased investments in special education at the highest levels, in transportation, in French language, in First Nation education, the highest levels ever recorded. We are investing in public education because we believe in the potential of our young people. However, in a choice of a world of finite resources, you know, there's only so many tax dollars. I know there may be other political parties that want to increase taxes, but amongst the options of the resources before us, my preference, and I would argue the parents you speak to, because the ones I'm speaking to are saying, fight to put more money in my kid's class, fight to put more money in my child's future. They're not asking me to advance a $1.5 billion compensation
They're
increase.
also not asking for larger classroom sizes or e-learning.
Can I just ask, so we're getting a note from the president of OSSTF, and they're calling this a stunt, saying that you are bargaining in front of the media, that this isn't good faith bargaining. What do you have to say to that?
You know, I'm calling on the union to stop making this about me or the president. I'm asking them to make it about our kids. And
Why do it through the media?
well, to be fair, we have, through the mediator today, encouraged them to bring forth options. That was dismissed. For 200 consecutive days of this process, they've not moved on their position. And I think it is only reasonable to say that the ball is in their court. They have put us in this position, in this deadline bargaining with a deadline of midnight. And parents now have to make a choice. And I think my position, quite clearly to the union, is choose the viable option. There is a tool in the toolkit. And if they care about our kids, like I know so many of our teachers do, and so many of the parents of their province care for their children, if we all could put our kids first, we will turn to every option available to the government, to the unions, to the trustees, and get a deal through a mediator that has worked for this government and worked for the children of this province. Thank you.